Welcome back to another episode of What Are You Made Of with your boy, the unstoppable Mike C-Roc. I'm in the house today with my man, Adam Hires, good friend of mine. And guys, I want to introduce you to him. But before I do that, I want to thank you for listening. Thank you for your support of the What Are You Made Of movement and the Rocket Fuel book. You can be unstoppable as well, just like I am, by go getting that book at Rocket Fuel, the Rocket Fuel book, at MikeCroc.com/book, MikeCroc.com/book. Grant Cardone, none other than Grant Cardone, wrote the foreword for the book. And he talks about in the foreword what rocket fuel means to him and his business. Guys, go get that book. It is unbelievable. And I put, guys, by the way, the effort that I put into this was all about helping other people find this formula that I created. So go get that. With that being said, I want to introduce you to Adam Hires. Taking a leap of faith, Adam Hires joined the mortgage loan industry in 2016. His desire to succeed has allowed him to become a top 1% income earner and loan originator in the United States. With his background in powerlifting, Adam achieved #1 in his weight class, which led him to start in his first coaching job in powerlifting and strength athletics. A lifestyle based on discipline and the motivation to always bet on yourself, Adam started using his experience and sales leadership skills to develop courses to enhance mortgage loan officers' skills, not only for their business, but themselves as well. Adam, welcome to the show.
Brother, I'm excited to be on here, man. I need some constant rocket fuel. That's what it's all about.
Let's go. We don't do injections here. We do infusion.
There you go.
Constant flow, baby.
Love it.
So, hey, look, we start the show with the same thing every time, asking the same question. What are you made of, Adam?
Man, I'm made of just relentlessness, I guess. That's I'm a relentless in nature, kind of like the back here. Success is going from one failure to the next without losing enthusiasm. Just being relentless, kind of like I rewatched last night was some documentary of The Last Dance from Michael Jordan. And it's like, man, you just get in that mode again, right? Like continuously infuse, right, the rocket fuel inside of the energy that says, man, I'm just going to continue to walk through fire or whatever I got to do to win. I mean, it's kind of who I am.
Yeah, no, there's always something behind that though. And people aren't just relentless for no reason. They have to have something that is at the end of this or something that they're going for. And, what is that for you? I can say, what does success mean to you? But where does that relentlessness come from?
It comes from, some different areas. I was, grew up poor, had, real abusive father, mentally, physically, and I just didn't want to be that way. And so when I was powerlifting, I was doing everything to armor myself to, just really shun off the world a little bit. But there was something inside me said, I got to do something different. I cannot be average. And I hate being average. Everybody else can do it. I've got to do something special. And so I think for me, it was always getting away from, some of that, negative energy that my dad was placing in me, which in turn, I was actually negative in different ways, putting on armor. And later in life, I kind of figured out that I was succeeding in a lot of ways, but I was also deteriorating in a lot of ways because of how I was going about my days and how I was a little too angry, right? So I was being a little angry, which there's a lot of great things that came from that, but there's also some negative things that came from that. And so, today it's more of, it's more of growth and helping other people grow. Kind of like you talked off the bat is I love helping people grow and achieving things that they didn't think they could. And I just feed that energy just flows through me and it feeds my passion to help others be the exception, be different, break the mold, those kinds of things. So,
yeah. Now, do you have a relationship with your dad nowadays or no?
I do not.
Yeah. I don't have one with mine either. So, but do you know, when you're looking back, were you the only child or was there other?
No, I have an older brother, 4 years older.
Yeah.
which is kind of funny because not funny, but just interesting is that he was the angry one, quote unquote, in my mind, because he was really vocal about it. I was like, I'm not angry, but like I was showing other anger within me. I was triggered really easily.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it took me a while to actually come to terms with that. And so when I came to terms with, hey, I am angry, and why am I angry, and really started diving into the growth aspect outside of just powerlifting and being as strong as I could, is when I started really developing. And then when I turned it on in business, I was able to turn it on rather quickly because of the experiences I had with powerlifting and the growth process I had for the just the recovery.
Right. Now, so what did you do as a teenager?
A teenager? I mean, of course, I was.
Were you into sports or like what?
Yeah, I was into sports, loved sports, loved baseball, football, wrestled, and then I just moved around a ton. So I grew up in Upper Michigan until I was 14 years old, out in the middle of nowhere, working all the time. We had literally, people like, well, you're not that old. We had no electricity. We had no electricity, outhouse, and you're talking about Upper Michigan, cold as all get out.
Now, was that like an Amish thing, or you just, that was just the area that like, well, because I mean, where I grew up in southeastern Pennsylvania, the Amish were there and they didn't have electricity, so I didn't know if it was just because it was far away or.
I don't know the reason why my dad just did that. I was born in Springfield, Illinois, and at about a year old, he took us to Upper Michigan, a little place called Garden, Michigan. It's a speck on the map. There's nobody around. And we had 120 acres, and there was about 300 or 400 acres plus as well around it that were really uninhabited. It would just be hunters. And so we just had no electric out there. I don't know why that was. But we had the the firewood we brought in and all that good stuff, but no electric. And it was very, it had its good times, right? Because, my parents would leave during the day. And, when we went to work, and it'd be just my brother and I, which I don't know how we got out of there without killing each other, because we literally about killed each other at different times. And at one point shooting pellet guns at each other, right? In the middle of nowhere. I mean, you can't leave two.
What else was there to do?
You can't leave two boys unattended to. So, but it was a lot of work. And so obviously I got a lot of work ethic from doing, the chores. But then we moved to Texas when I was 14 years old, in 2-a-day football.
Did you have electricity in Texas?
Yes.
Okay. So until about 14 years old, till your teenager years, you had no electricity.
Right.
That's wild, man.
So we moved up to Texas. Yeah, we're at that point where it was like regular life, and well, as far as the electricity and all that good stuff. Almost died in 2-a-day football because here it is in Texas, like 104 degrees out there. And I've never been above like 70 degrees in Upper Michigan, basically. I mean, if anybody's been there, it doesn't get much past like 70, 75 and no humidity. And so, I played there, but we moved 3 different high schools. So it was really difficult. And with everything I had going on, I had a lot of turmoil there because what was going on at home and moving was just terrible. So I was always into sports and I was really, really good at them, but the moving around just killed a lot.
Yeah. Now, how did you deal with your abuse and stuff as a teenager and then into your 20s? Like did you get into partying? Did you like what?
No, I didn't really get into partying. Obviously I'd hang out with friends and drink, but nothing serious. I didn't ever go full throttle into acting out when it came to drinking and partying and all that. I started lifting a little bit when I was 17 again, and 18 went to the military. And then I got out, and then I started boxing. And so I was full into boxing, and I couldn't get fights because it was just, you'd show up and sometimes somebody'd pull out or whatever.
Right.
And which I hated. So I had some fights, but you know, I had those big dreams. So but I was working at a factory at the time, 12-hour shifts. It was difficult, obviously, to train, but I was doing it. I was like dead all the time, but I was working and doing everything I could to be a great boxer. And then I picked up a book, came across Pavel. I always hack his name. It's like Tassolini. He's a, Russian guy. It's, it was bench press and deadlift of 5 reps. And I was like,
heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, let me try this out. So I went and bought 390 pounds of weights, and I deadlifted it 5 times real easy. I was like, So I went to the gym and I deadlifted 580 pounds the first time I ever deadlifted. And I was like, I wonder if that's any good. So I came across the Powerlifting USA magazine, and I was like, okay, that's not bad for, at the time I was like a little over 200 pounds. And I was like, okay. And I just got addicted, and I never went back to boxing. I was like, okay, I'm a powerlift. So
yeah,
that's where it took off from there.
And then benching, what were you benching like when you first started? Like when you
about 300 pounds.
Yeah. And then you build from there. That's crazy, man. Yeah. So it's kind of, you had some kind of natural, like strength in there, brute strength to get started, a good foundation. And then you were working, before you got into the mortgage business, you were working in a factory, or what were you doing?
Working in a factory until I was, for 5 years or so, 6 years, I got into the mortgage industry in my 20s it was like a year or so. Like I was doing it, but I was powerlifting, and I did some other part-time jobs. Most of my energy was focused on powerlifting.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
were you making money? Were you making money with powerlifting?
No.
Okay.
No.
I didn't know if they had sponsors or any of that kind of stuff. Or
the only way you really make money in powerlifting is if you're doing something as an entrepreneur. You're doing you're selling programs or all that good stuff. I mean, but money as far as even competitions. I mean, it's nothing that you're going to be able to quit your job for. Gotcha. I mean, that's just not going to happen. So I was powerlifting, but I got in the mortgage industry for a hot minute, and when it was crazy back in the 2008 area where anybody could get a mortgage, and it was crazy. So, and then I did some other jobs. Then I ended up running finally, I really wasn't, again, trying to push anything but powerlifting. And then all of a sudden I was like, you know what, I got to start doing something. So really about 8 years ago is when I decided, okay, I'm going to try to do something outside of just powerlifting. And so I ended up running a Aaron Sales and Lease as a general manager for like a couple of years. Then I went to Ashley Furniture, ran Ashley Furniture for a few years. And then less than 5 years ago, I went in the mortgage industry. I was like, I kind of did that before, but not really, because I was like not really doing much of it.
Yeah.
And my MLS number, which is funny, it's real low, and it looks like I've been doing it forever.
The same one? You kept the same one?
Yeah. Well, literally, here's what happened. When it switched over, because I was like really still not doing it, but I knew the owner, and I was kind of there, whatever. And so you had to take the test. They introduced a test. I never took the test. I literally got my NMLS number, and like I didn't ever do anything.
Right.
So I had this low NMLS number, but really I wasn't in it. And so I came to, I ended up, it was one of those times where it was, even looking back, you're like, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I was running Ashley Furniture, and, it was this new store, but it was an old Lowe's building, and it did not look like the normal Ashley Furnitures. And I would have to argue with people that it's not a green couch, it's a brown couch, because it was like the horrible lighting. Right.
Yeah.
And like, I would go to some of these, they would get all of us managers together, different stores, like around the country. And they'd be like, well, man, your dollars per guest can go up. You just have to shine your light this way. I'm like, dude, I got I got lights like 400 foot up, man. This doesn't apply to me. So, so I was running the store and I made the biggest mistake I'll ever make. And I'll tell people right now, like, never make this mistake. And you probably made this mistake, is never hire somebody, it's going to be a bad cultural fit.
Yeah.
But I was like, I need a good salesperson, because it was hard to find good, people that were good in sales. And I knew, like, this guy's story didn't add up. I was like, man, they can sell. I think he can sell. And about a month later, I realized how big a mistake that was, because he was like tearing through my store, like just causing all sorts of chaos. And I mean, he was starting rumors everywhere, myself included. And it just came to a head, and things were going downhill. And I just didn't know how to really turn it. It was just a cancer. And I went back home at the time to my wife, and I said, they're going to fire me. And she's like, they're not going to fire you. I was like, it's coming. And I was like, I'm telling you, it's coming. And so I'm going to start looking. So I went to 2 different jobs, and one of them was a mortgage company. And I sat down, they're like, tell me about it. I'm like, okay, cool. It's like, I think this would be great. I was like pumped up. I go back home. I'm like, honey, I think this would be awesome. And she's like, is that all commission? I was like, yeah. And she's like, you ain't doing that. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm sitting there like, man, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I was like, I feel like I could do this. Like, cause I feel like now I'm like prepared to do this. And about 2 weeks later, general manager comes walking in through the back of the store. And I'm like, or the regional manager, excuse me. And well, damn, here it comes. Right. And he's like, I'm going to have to let you go. And I'm like, okay. And I was almost like, yeah, that's fine. Let's go. Let's go time. And I was like, I have no other choice but to do it. And so I went, told nobody, at mortgage business, I was canned, and came on, and 3 months in, I'm starting to sling, a lot of deals, and I made more money in a month than I have ever made in my life. And here we are today. So it's the best thing that ever could have happened to me. By the way, they've never hit the numbers at that store at Ashley to this day that I hit when I was there. So, they didn't realize what they lost either. So it's all good.
Yeah. Things happen for a reason, right? So how did you get started so fast in the mortgage business? Like, why did you have that? And I know why already, but I want you to tell the audience.
We talked about them, relentless. It's just, I had no choice. I mean, I got these wristband here, no choice for growth, legacy, impact. It's just in me. I was like, I can't. All the ships are burned. I didn't have anything to rely on. They gave me a little small salary at the company I was with for mortgages, but it wasn't anything. I didn't really have this big nest egg, or anything. I didn't really have that much set back. And I just had no choice at that point. And so I just took what I knew to do and go with it. I started YouTubing. I was like, how do I get business? Like YouTube, Googled. I mean, there's a wealth of knowledge on the internet. If you just look at it, it's like, okay, you need to talk to real estate agents. Okay, great. What do I tell the real estate agents? Great. And I talk about this on my podcast all the time, is that it's like, when you go back, sometimes I think we always look like, what are we doing better now? But a lot of times we fail to go, what was I doing better in the beginning? And what I did really well at the beginning is blissful ignorance.
Yep.
Like, I didn't have the pretty girl syndrome. And I talk about this, the pretty girl syndrome, where I was like, oh my gosh, like, this agent's doing this amount, I can't talk to him. At the beginning, I didn't know who anybody was.
Yeah.
Like I didn't, it'd be like me talking to you, and I didn't know who like C-Roc was. Like, he was just Mike.
I'm just Mike.
Right?
I am just
Mike. But you get the point, right? It's like, even a Grant Cardone. If I don't know who Grant Cardone is, then it's like, I mean, you just talk to him, right? Instead when they start labeling things. So when I came in, I didn't know who anybody was. I'm just like, okay, I'm finding real estate agents, and I'm calling them, and I'm getting in front of them. And, how do I talk to them? And it was like, I remember having these sheets, right? Like you could print off the property sheet with like, and you could co-sponsor it and it would show like how much their payment is. And you still can do those. At the time, I thought that was like revolutionary because the company's like, oh, we can do this. I'm like, to come find out later, like everybody can do that.
Yeah.
However, to me, it was like, it was still though, my passion and my willingness to actually follow through with doing those things and go with like, man, I'm trying to give to you, resonated, and people were sending me business. And so I think today, you know, sometimes we all complicate things, but it's just like, I'm going to get in front of enough people and I'm going to serve, and I'm going to share my energy with people. People are going to gravitate towards you, and you're going to get business and you're going to grow.
Yeah. Now, how did you avoid the commission breath though? Like, cause you didn't have anything, you were burning ships at that point, but you needed money, right? So
right.
Like, how did you avoid that part of it?
Well, I mean, I asked a lot of questions. I think that I know that the problem is, and I remember I went to a meeting, I was 6 months in, and we went to this regional meeting in Tennessee, and there was hundreds of loan officers there at my company. And they said, Adam, I want you to get up and talk about like how you've grown your business so quickly, because you had, you know, no business. And I was like, okay, cool. And because my 6 month in, I did like 20 loans in a month, where everybody's like, how the hell did you do that? I was, 6 months out of the gate, and it was all referral based, wasn't paid for, all that. And so I was like, well, I asked them these questions to do this. And then after that meeting, I had different loan officers call me, and they're like, dude, like, share me the secret. And I said, let me ask you, like, what are you doing when you go to the meetings or when you call? They're like, oh man, we do this. We close this quickly. We do this. And it's like, and at the company that I was with, cause I'm not going to name their name, but like they have they're all about the Kool-Aid, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's like how they process loans,
how fast they can do it. Yeah.
Right. And have this mantra, and it's cool. But when these loan officers were regurgitating this to the real estate agents don't care. Mm-mm. They don't care. And so that is commission breath, because like, what can we do? So I said, well, stop there. I said, like, who is that really helping when you're talking like that? What do they really want? Because I remember this, and this is one thing that lesson I really learned on this, especially. So I thought it was hot crap, man. I'm trying to cuss. I don't know if I can cuss on it.
No, it's fine.
So this agent calls me up. I'm about 6 months in, the same kind of time frame. And I'm like slinging deals. Like I got this great reputation of closing down loans, all this. So I get a real estate agent calls me. Never talked to her before. She's like, hey, I heard you can close loans quick. I was like, hell yeah, I can. And I started going on like, man, I could do this. I could do this. And I get to the end of it, and I'm thinking, man, she's just going to like, hell yeah, I'm going to start sending you all these deals. And then I got smacked right in the face with a shovel. She says, oh, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I want to move that quick. And I'm like, excuse me? Mm-hmm. And I was like, totally just like, whoa, just like, because I didn't expect that. Mm-hmm. And she said, I said, well, and it was hard for me to recover because I was already in like, I was already leaning all the way forward instead of being right in the middle, having conversations. And she said, well, I feel like there'd be too many mistakes made and everybody felt rushed. Mm-hmm. I never recovered on that conversation, and I never got any deals from her. She was willing to have a conversation with me and think, hey, you're probably pretty good. But once I started like having the commission breath of like, man, I could do this, and not having a real authentic conversation of like, well, we can, what's important to you? What does quick closing mean to you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. What can I help you with? Like, what can I get you information on today? Yeah. And let her talk, right? Open the door let them talk. Yeah. Yeah. Big difference, man. I love that. So now you're into coaching as well, right? Because you got your mortgage business, you got your team going right now, and then you're also coaching other loan officers, right? Not realtors, but loan officers, right?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. And so you're basically finding out the same thing. It's like, correct me if I'm wrong, as you're coaching people, like you find out they have the same issues, right?
Yeah.
And so you start to see the repetitiveness of it, and you start saying the same things. Explain that a little bit, though, how your coaching business got off the ground and how it's going now.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying exactly what I talk about all the time. Is you have to listen to your clients, and then the biggest thing is not getting lost in their story, but what's their theme? Because you kind of talked about that right there. Well, everybody has the same thing where, if you start getting lost in their story, you don't know the theme. Like the theme could be they have an old messaging, right? Like you have it all the time. I'm sure with the rocket fuel, because people have old messaging for they can't grow to a certain level because, it could have been like their dad or something said whatever. They got old messaging. They're not good enough. And the biggest thing for me is always like, what's the theme in the story? Because everybody's got a juicy, sexy story, but what's the theme in the story? So for me, I'm a mortgage coach, but I also would say that I'm someone that is going to get down to just more than just tactics and strategies, but like what's really underneath or what's really holding you back.
Yeah, the block. What's the blockage?
Yeah, because we all have
the root problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of coaches out there are just like, well, you're not calling enough people. Well, okay, but there's maybe a reason there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there may be a reason, because like if somebody doesn't want to cold call somebody, for example, because they had the one time they called in front of their kid, and their kid, heard them yelling, right. Somebody yelling at them, and now they associated with it.
Yeah.
Right. There's all these different things that happen. So it's like getting back to that. I think you have to have structure with people as well, obviously. So there's a balance I feel between structure. Here's the way like the program should work, but here's also some things that, we can, customize to that individual.
Right. I love that, man. So look, how can my audience get in touch with you before I ask the final question?
Pretty much anyway, Adam Hires. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, hirescoaching.com. You can definitely find me there. And then go to my podcast as well if you want to see me there. Mortgage Talks. Listen to me. Hit me up there. I'm pretty available. You can find me.
And now you just moved from Kentucky to Georgia, right? Recently?
Yeah, about 2 months ago.
In Georgia. Yeah. So he's in Georgia now, guys. So if you're in the Georgia area, go find Adam. Go support him because he's a guest on my show, and he had me on his show as well, which was a great time. And guys, the final question for you, Adam. Here we always ask the guests this at the end of the show. What does the rocket fuel concept mean to you?
I believe it's I have a thing called Power 4, which I coach on and I have events on. And the number one thing is energy, right? Energy is life, and rocket fuel is life, right? The rocket fuel is everything that is the stories you're telling yourself, everything that you can achieve. I think rocket fuel is like you say, infusing that. What is your real internal why and drive that is going to push you forward, and just being freaking dynamic, absolutely dynamic in the few things that you do well, taking that from a 6 to a 10. The biggest thing we tell ourselves and people say is, oh my gosh, I'm a master at none, kind of thing. And no, be a master at a few things. Stop being a jack of all trades. Be a master at a few things that are freaking great, and fuse the rocket fuel that is going to push you forward. That's going to move the needle. That is going to help others along with your journey. So man, I love it. I love your message, and love being on here.
Love it, man. Thank you so much, Adam. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing with my audience. And I wish you the best in anything you desire to do, brother. I got your back on that. Guys, you've been listening to the What Are You Made Of podcast with your boy, the unstoppable Mike C-Roc and Adam Hires. You can be unstoppable as well. Go get that rocket fuel book, Convert Setbacks, Become Unstoppable, with Grant Cardone, who's wrote the foreword. That's at MikeCroc.com/book. And please go subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. If you'd like to watch these instead of just listen, you can go to MikeCroc.com Mike C-Roc on YouTube and watch these episodes. Until next time, be unstoppable.